Okay, it will add other server details in it once the Jenkins master goes down. Okay, and basically it will act as a master or will be in a sync. Okay, that is the reason we use Garmin plugin. Okay, so list of plugins. So the very first Garmin plugin, I have given the definition for this, and the second plugin is upstream and downstream, upstream and downstream plugin. Okay, so what is this upstream and downstream plugin will do in Jenkins? Okay, so this upstream and downstream plugin is basically, it is used to trigger the jobs in series way. Okay, series way in the sense upstream job should triggered, soon after that it should trigger automatically the downstream job. That is the reason we use upstream and downstream plugins in Jenkins. Okay, so it is used to trigger the jobs in series way. Okay, so if the job one is completed automatically, so it will trigger the downstream job, and also we can pass the parameters from one job to another job. Okay, so say suppose if the job one is having dependent with job two, or if the job two is dependent on job one, so we can pass the parameters through this upstream and downstream plugin. Okay, so these are all the, see, the plugins are mainly the task in Jenkins, okay, used to execute the particular tasks in Jenkins itself. That is the reason we use plugins in Jenkins. Okay, so I'm going to give definition for upstream and downstream. Okay, so it is used to trigger the jobs in series way, trigger the jobs in series way. Okay, if the job one is completed, okay, if the job one is completed automatically, so it will trigger, it will trigger the downstream job. So it will trigger the downstream job, and also we can pass the, and also we can pass the parameters from one job to another. Another job. So that is the reason we use upstream and downstream plugin. Okay, basically it is used to trigger the job in a series way, so one after the other. Okay, so it will trigger automatically the second job when we configure the upstream and downstream plugin. And also we used to pass a parameter from one job to another. So okay, we'll explore these in when working in Jenkins by setting up a job. Okay, so clear with this upstream and downstream plugin. Okay, now let's move. What about others? Are you guys getting? Did Nikhil Rachar, Nikhil Rachar, am I audible?
Yes, 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 Sandeep.
Ah, okay, so now let's move to the next plugin, that is Pipeline is a plugin. So this is one of the plugin that we use in Jenkins. Basically, the name itself is represents pipeline. Okay, the most of the plugins So as I told, plugins are basically the task to executes the task in Jenkins. Okay, each plugin will be having their own functionality. So similarly for upstream and downstream, gear-on plugin, and similarly for the third one, that is pipeline plugin. So what this will do, this pipeline is basically, so this is used to integrate multiple builds in a single job. Okay, pipeline in the sense we use some set of jobs in Jenkins. We integrate the multiple builds in a single job. Okay, and which is written in the Groovy. Okay, so basically we use in Jenkins called Jenkins file. We'll explain that later. Okay, so for your understanding, as of now, for the pipeline plugin, we use Jenkins file for the automation purpose. Okay, that will be written in Groovy. That Groovy has some set of jobs. So all jobs we integrated in a single, all the builds we integrated, all the stages, I can say all the stages we integrated, and we use a single, we create a single build. So that we call it as pipeline. So basically you can understand it is used to integrate the multiple builds in a single job. Okay, so I'll give a definition. It is used to integrate. Okay, so it is used to integrate the multiple builds in a single job. Okay, and similarly, so which is written in Groovy. Okay, so that we call it as pipeline plugin. Similarly, we also have parameterized plugin. Parameterized plugin. Okay, so what is this parameterized plugin? What this will do in Jenkins? Okay, this parameterized plugin is used to pass the parameters to Jenkins job. Say suppose if you are running with different environments, we are aware of multiple environments, right? Like dev, QA, UAT, and prod. Suppose if you want to run in dev, we pass the parameter is equals to dev. It will, the pipeline will run in only for dev environment. Similarly, suppose if you run parameter is equals to prod, it will run, pipeline will run for the production environment only. So that is the reason, so we use parameterized plugin to pass a parameter to the Jenkins job. Okay, so as I told, for example, for deployment we pass the server name. So suppose if you want to deploy something. Okay, say suppose if the testing, you generated a build, that build you wanted to deploy to the testing team, you can pass, just pass the server name to deploy the build to test on the test server. Okay, so where we pass the server name and build, so that the selected build will get deployed to the selected server. Okay, that's the reason we use parameterized plugin. Not only this parameter, you can pass any parameter. Suppose if you are passing with your any environmental ID or environment name, any server name, build ID, that we call it as parameters. Okay, so I'll give a definition here. Okay, so this used to pass the parameters to Jenkins job. Okay, for example, deployment job we pass for deployment job. Okay, for deployment job we pass the server name. Just a minute, guys. Sorry. Okay. For deployment job, we pass the server name and the build. Server name and the build. We pass the server name and the build so that the selected build, so that the selected build will get deployed, to the selected server. Let's go down. Build will get deployed. Selected build will get deployed to the selected server. To the selected server. Okay, so that is the reason we use parameterized plugin. Okay, so see here.
So, hello,
Yes.
sir. What is the difference between this one, upstream and downstream? There also will pass the parameter, right? So here also pass the parameter.
Okay, so this upstream and downstream, this will trigger the job in series way, but parameterized plugin will
Yeah,
not
yeah.
trigger the job in series way. Okay, and
Okay.
meantime, when we are passing, suppose if you're triggering, okay, let's go this way. Okay, let me explain this as a snippet. Okay, so this, let's say this is upstream and downstream job, and this is parameterized job. Okay, so this is upstream and downstream. Okay, and this is parameterized. Let's remove this. Okay, now you triggered this job upstream and downstream, and based on this it will trigger job in series way, right? It will trigger job 1 and job 2. Okay, so in the upstream and downstream, so it will trigger the jobs in series way, correct, one after the other. So suppose if
Yes, sir.
job 1 is done, automatically it triggers job 2 in the upstream and downstream. Okay, now if your job 2 is dependent on job 1, job 1 is producing some input, okay, some output, job 1 is producing some output that is dependent with job 2. You getting my point? So this
Yes,
job
sir.
one produced output will be passed in parameter to job two in the this configuration we do it in the Jenkins file itself, which is written in Groovy. Are we passing a parameter now in the upstream and downstream? You were able to understand?
Yeah, yeah. Understand.
Now, suppose if alone we triggered parameterized plugin, so we are triggered with build, so it is triggering, we are passing a parameter. Okay, parameter in the sense, suppose when we want to deploy a build, we pass the server name directly. This is alone, not even any okay,
Dependency in the
not
job.
even having any dependency. It is alone we are triggering, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
here
Good.
directly pass the server name into the Jenkins
Okay.
file. So this we call it as parameterized plugin, and this we call it as upstream and downstream.
Okay. Okay.
Clear?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Now let's move to the next plugin, that is soon after the parameterized we have Blue Ocean plugin. Okay, so let me explain this Blue Ocean plugin. Okay, so why do we use this Blue Ocean plugin and what is the benefit of having a Blue Ocean plugin? Okay, so it helps to see the visualization of CI/CD pipelines in Jenkins. Is basically Blue Ocean plugin. It helps to see the visualization of our CI/CD flow. So where the pipeline filed and where it get the build get triggered, and we also can see the visualization of the CI/CD pipelines in Jenkins. Okay, so once we install Jenkins, I'll show this Blue Ocean plugin. Okay, so it helps to see the it helps to see the visualization of CI and CD pipeline in Jenkins. Okay, and also we can check the Jenkins flow in Blue Ocean plugins. Okay, and we can also check the Jenkins flow in Blue Ocean plugin. Okay, so this will help us to see the flow of CI/CD pipeline in visualization. Okay, so we can see each stage what happened and where it got stuck, what was the task has been executed, so that we can see through this Blue Ocean plugin. Okay, I'll show this Blue Ocean plugin. Okay, and the next plugin, that is Artifactory or Nexus. Artifactory or Nexus. So Artifactory or a Nexus plugin is used to store the artifacts. Okay, as I told, once we generate from the build tools, what we generate from the build tools, what we generate from the build tools.
Binaries.
Binaries or build.
Yes. So we call it as binaries, builds, and the artifact, right? All three are same only. That binary we want to store it in some tool, right? Which tool those? The binary that we're going to store it in Artifactory, we call it as JFrog Artifactory, or we're going to store it in Nexus. Either of one tool we use in any of the project to store that build or artifact or the binary, all three are same. To store that build, we use Artifactory or Nexus as a tool. To integrate in Jenkins these tools, we use the plugins as Artifactory or Nexus. Okay, clear with this? I'll give a definition. It is used to see, understand this clearly, the flow. Okay, so we generate the builds from build tool that we have to configure it in Jenkins. Okay, the generated build we have to keep it somewhere, right? So where we keep our source code, so the source code we keep it in our GitLab or GitHub or Bitbucket, correct? Similarly, we need to store the builds which is generated from Jenkins, that we wanted to store it in some tool. So what are those tools? The tools are Artifactory or Nexus. To integrate, to store that from Jenkins to these tools, we need to integrate. We need to use some plugins, because that's how we have to connect these tools, right? Right? We need to connect these tools by integrating it in Jenkins. That is the reason we have to use these Artifactory or Nexus as a plugin to store our builds in the Artifactory or Nexus. Okay. Let's give the definition. So it is used to store the artifacts. Store the artifacts. It is used to store the artifacts or binary or build. Okay, all three are same. Artifacts, binary or build, all three are same. Some people will call it binary, some people will call it build, some people will call it artifacts. We call it as artifacts sometimes when we're configuring it in Jenkins. Okay, so it is used to store the artifacts binary build in JFrog Artifactory. JFrog Artifactory. JFrog Artifactory is a tool where we need to keep our artifact or build. Okay. Nexus from Jenkins. Okay, push the artifact to JFrog Artifactory. So we also push the artifacts to JFrog Artifactory or Nexus. Okay, so we are pushing build to the Artifactory. Call it as JFrog Artifactory as a tool, and also we can push it to the Nexus. Both the tools are same. Okay, to integrate those tools we need to use these plugins, right? So that is the reason we'll have to use this plugin. Okay, so now let's move to the next plugin, that is Maven. So what Maven will do, Shabaz? Are you in the session?
Yes, sir.
What Maven will do?
It's builder tools, Java tool.
It is build the tool or it will build the source code? What is it?
Build the source code, sir. Java source code.
You told build the tool. What do you mean by that?
Sir.
Okay, so basically it compiles the Java project. So Maven is the build tool where we build the Java project. Suppose if we are configuring Java project from Jenkins, Jenkins is basically the framework, right? It builds the source code, generates the build, deploy, and it's basically the framework. Okay, to do this Java project to be built, we need to integrate Maven as a plugin in Jenkins, right? So let's give the definition. It is used to build the Java project and required to install in Jenkins. So we need to install the Maven as a build tool because we are building a Java project here, right? That is the reason we need to integrate Maven in Jenkins this is to be installed in Jenkins. Where it's to be installed in Jenkins, where you install with Jenkins, na similar server you need to be integrated with, or you need to be installed with Maven tool to build the Java project. Okay, and similarly we also have CMake. So why we use CMake? Suhas.
So to build C, C++ or embedded C source code.
Yes. So basically, it is used to build the C or C++ embedded projects, and this needs to be installed in Jenkins. That is the reason to build. Suppose if your project is having C, C++, we need to use the CMake as the build tool configuration. That is the reason we'll have to use the CMake plugin to be installed in the Jenkins. So otherwise we are unable to build it. Okay, so let's give the definition. So it is used to build the C or C++ or embedded C, C++ or embedded projects and required to install in Jenkins. Install in Jenkins, right? So suppose when we want to build a Java project, we go for Maven. When we want to build for C, C++ project, we go with CMake. Okay, there are a lot of configuration is required in the CMake. So that we'll learn when we start configuring the jobs in Jenkins. Okay, now let's move to the next plugin, that is Jira. Okay, so Jira is a plugin. So we use Jira as a tool for the ticketing tool. Okay, so what is this Jira? Let me explain. This Jira will be having in a sprint wise, let's say, suppose if we have listed some set of tasks to be completed with 2 weeks of time, that we call it as sprints. Okay, I'm keep on saying the sprints they are planning in a weeks, 2 weeks or 3 weeks. The top fortune companies, they'll plan for 3 weeks, and the rest of the guys they'll go for 2 weeks of the sprint planning. Okay, so how they will monitor those task has been completed, in the sense, when we have a huge team in a project, suppose if you have in a 50, 60 or 100 members in a project, they will maintain the Jira dashboard. Okay, in that each resource, each including DevOps testing, developers, production, infra team, and the platform team, all the teams will be having the Jira get created and assigned with their name. Okay, I will show this Jira dashboard how it works. Okay, this Jira, how to how it is integrated with Jenkins means, Jira is basically used to integrate the Jenkins instance with Atlassian Jira software. Suppose if the Jenkins or the Jira is integrated with Atlassian, we need to integrate it with Jenkins, because we need to set an alert. Suppose if your task has been completed, if you update it, it should be reflected in the Jenkins itself. That is the reason we integrate this Jira in the Jenkins. Suppose if you cleared, okay, the 2 weeks of task that you has been completed, and you need to update the task in the Jira ticket itself, right? That to be reflected in Jenkins. So that is the reason we need to integrate Jira as a plugin to reflect your task integrated the Jenkins instance with Atlassian Jira software. Okay, Jira is powered by Atlassian. Okay, so I will show this Jira. Okay, that is the reason we use Jira as a plugin. Let's give the definition. It is used to integrate the Jenkins instance is used to integrate the Jenkins instance with Atlassian Jira with Atlassian Jira software. Okay, just to integrate the Jira with Jenkins. That's it. Okay, now let's move to the next plugin, that is Docker. Okay, so Docker is a plugin. So going forward, after this Jenkins, we're going to discuss about the Docker. As of now, we'll take this Docker as a plugin currently. So why we use this Docker as a plugin? It is basically used to Dockerize a Jenkins. That is the reason we use Docker as a plugin. Okay, so it is used to, as of now, you can take the definition. Okay, so let's keep this way. It is a plugin which is used to Dockerize which is used to Dockerize the Jenkins. Okay, so why we need to Dockerize means, let's learn this in the Docker tool. Okay, so Docker is basically, we create some containers and basically we make it lightweight application as Jenkins. So that is the reason it won't consume more, it won't affect for a server, because it's basically the lightweight when we Dockerize a Jenkins. That is the reason the modern technology that we Dockerize it in Jenkins, we Dockerize the Jenkins. That is the reason we use Docker as a plugin. Okay, in the plugin we wanted to know there is a plugin called Docker. Okay, and now the next plugin, that is mailer. Okay, so what is this mailer will do in Jenkins? Suppose if you want to trigger an email from Jenkins, if there are any build failures or the post build actions, right? So we call it as post build actions. So suppose if you want to intimate to the developers who has pushed their code into the, suppose the developer has built a code via Jenkins, he wanted to get updated. He want to trigger an email saying, hey, your code is failed. Your build is failed. Your build is green. Your build is passed. These intimations we need to be have it through Jenkins. To trigger an email from Jenkins, we need to install it with the plugin called Mailer. We need to intimate it, right? So we wanted to notify it. How do we notify? Suppose if you triggered, if you pushed from local to remote and you triggered with Jenkins job and you left it and you went for other work, and how you will get to know? So once you get an email only, you will get to know that okay, my build is failed, and you will go to Jenkins and check the dashboard. That is the reason we use Mailer as a plugin to trigger an email. Okay, so it is a plugin which is okay plugin used to configure, okay, used to configure and add the post build actions, add the post build actions of the Jenkins job. Okay, so add the, or we can set up the post build action of a Jenkins job, then the Mailer plugin will send an email. Okay, and the Mailer plugin will send you an email. Okay, so we'll send you an email for build failures and success, for build failures and success. Okay, so these things we will do it in the Jenkins itself. We call it as post build actions. Post build actions in the sense, post build, once the build completed, post completion of all the stages, we use post build actions in Jenkins. So if there are any build failures in any of the stages or any of the build that we integrated, so it should trigger an email to the users to notify it. So basically we should get notified from the Jenkins if there are any build failures or the success. So even though not only for failures, we also triggers for if the Jenkins is getting successed. So that is the reason we'll have to use the Mailer plugin. Okay. And similarly, we also have disk usage. So what is this disk usage? How do we check the disk usage? 12, right? 12th plugin. Okay, suppose if the Jenkins disk is exceeds the threshold that we had set, it should intimate it to the user saying the Jenkins disk is more. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Any plugin that I missed? Parameterized upstream and downstream pipeline. Okay, so disk usage is basically, disk usage is a plugin. So this plugin shows the disk usage is being used by our project, because every project depends on the disk usage in the server, correct? Disk usage in the Docker container, disk usage in your server, right? Suppose if you are building Maven, if your server will be having some only 10 GB, out of the 10 GB, it consumes some disk, right? So that represents, this plugin shows the disk space is being used by our project. So that is the reason we use disk usage. Okay, so this plugin shows the disk space is being used by the project. Okay, so disk usage is basically this plugin shows the disk space is being used by the project. Okay, so it will show this plugin when we configure this plugin. So this will show the number of sorry, the disk space is being used by the project. Suppose if you're running in Maven, it also consumes disk usage. And similarly for Java project, .NET, or maybe your C++ or embedded project, any of the project, it consumes some disk usage, right? So it shows the disk space is being used by the project. Okay, so there are some list of plugins that we had discussed now. So any questions and any doubts? Anybody has any questions here?
Sir, hello.
Yes.
Sir, can you just explain the third one, sir? I just missed it. The third one.
Third one.
Pipeline. Sorry, the pipeline. Yeah.
This one.
Yes, sir. I just missed it. Sorry.
You joined late.
No, no, no. I was on the call, but I couldn't catch it, sir. That's it.
Okay. So this plugin is basically the name itself is saying pipeline. So this is used to integrate the multiple builds in a single job. Suppose multiple builds in the sense. So let's say there are certain set of script that we wanted to run. Okay. We can run our shell script through Jenkins. I will show how to run. Okay. So multiple builds in the sense, suppose let's say cloning a repository, executes a script, and store that output into some file. These three are the jobs or the builds, let's say. Let's take an example. These all three jobs, instead of building it in single, so instead of building it in separately, we can build this in a single job that we can achieve through Jenkins, and that to be written in Groovy, because Jenkins uses the Groovy scripting. We have to write that in the Groovy. Okay, I'll explain how to keep multiple builds in a single job, in a single Jenkins file. Clear?
Yes, sir. Okay, got it.
The piece of task or the piece of build we integrate, we can keep it in a single job. That way,
Right.
use pipeline.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Anybody has any questions? And there is one more plugin that I have left here, JUnit. So JUnit is basically the plugin. Okay, so it's a JUnit plugin is a open source tool that provides the graphical visualization of test results. Okay, suppose if you had executes the test through the Jenkins itself. So if the job is built, we need to see the test results in a visualization. So we use the JUnit plugin, JUnit unit. JUnit is the plugin. Sorry. So when we want to check the test results of basically the a graphical visualization of a test results. Okay, suppose so on percentage that you executed a test through Jenkins, so that we can see through this plugin in the Jenkins dashboard itself. Okay, the JUnit plugin. Okay, so it's an open source tool. So JUnit is a tool is basically that we use in the test execution, and to see the visualization of a test results, we need to integrate in the Jenkins. Okay, so the that provides the graphical visualization of graphical visualization of test results. Okay, so this is basically when we integrate this JUnit plugin, so that provides the graphical visualization of the test results. Suppose if you have 100 tests that you integrated through the build, so we can see the test results in the Jenkins itself. So that is the reason we use JUnit as a plugin. Okay, clear? Anybody has any questions on these plugins? The most commonly used plugins are these, and we can also use some of the plugins depends on your organization that you want to configure it in Jenkins. Okay, any questions and any doubts? Anything that you guys want to know here?
Sir, Jenkins itself graphical representation, right? Again, JUnit what it will add.
Where I told Jenkins itself is a graphical visualization.
Like in first Jenkins definitions are in open source and
Mm-hmm.
UI.
It's basically the UI. So where it guides the users to, because WhatsApp is UI, right? So it will help us to, it will guide us to click on the charts, click on your updates, click on your settings, right?
Mm,
Correct?
yeah.
As an application, as a part of an application. Here, JUnit is meant for testing. So you want to see the test results of graphical visualization instead of keeping it a data in a page bundle of data. We can see this test results in a visualization. It will be easier, right?
So sir,
We're able to
it
understand
means
our.
yeah, sir. Means Jenkins will not give the test result in graphical way. So
Until
after
you
adding JUnit,
configure this JUnit plugin, Jenkins will not display visualization of test results in the dashboard itself.
okay,
That's
got
what
it.
I have told. Open source. Open source in the sense you can customize whenever, whatever you want, right? That is the reason we call it as open source. Open source. Suppose if you want to modify according to your project requirement, you can modify it. Nobody will ask you, but you need to purchase the license. Getting my point?
Yes, sir.
Anybody has any questions here? Any doubts? Okay, if no doubts, let's move to the Jenkins installation. Let's log into the server. Let's get connected with the installation part. I have some set of commands here to install. Everybody created with a machine as an Ubuntu. So we'll follow this command line instruction, and I'll show where I get collected these commands with the Jenkins controlled document. Okay, you can also refer that Jenkins controlled document. Okay, for each and every tool will be having their own Jenkins controlled document. You can refer the document. Even suppose if you are referring for Git, there's a control document will be available in Google. Similarly for Jenkins, the control document will be available in Jenkins itself in the Google. Similarly for Docker, similarly for Terraform, similarly for Kubernetes, similarly for AWS or Azure Cloud. Okay, whatever the tool that you work, before that you need to understand the basic concepts, how this tool works and what is the framework that we do with the tool. Okay, now let's install this Jenkins. Before installing, I'll have to go to the log into the AWS console. Let me log in. Is my screen visible with AWS console? No. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Let's enter the captcha. It's PXRHY, right? Okay, let's enter the password. Password is here. MFA. Okay, it was asking for MFA. That had set. Okay, there are no servers which are running. Let's go to remove this query. So we can see the instances that we created. So we have installed with Linux, right? Let's make it run. Are you guys following me?
Yes.
Now this server is running. Copy this. Go to downloads. Clear the screen. SSH. You can log in through putty or git bash. Okay. SSH-i Linux key pam. The username is Ubuntu in my case. Ubuntu followed by the IP address. Okay. Now I'm gonna logging in. Press yes. Okay. So this is my master is basically okay. So this is my master server. Okay. Master can be a slave as well. Okay. And we can also create another server and we can add that server into this to make as a slave or node or agent we call it as. Okay. Now I'm gonna run the command one by one. Jenkins installation on Ubuntu. So let's update the system. Sudo apt update is used to update the Linux system, right? Let's update this. Sudo apt update. So it is getting updated in the Linux Ubuntu server. Okay, now the updating is done. Now let's run this. Let's install the Java because to work with Jenkins, you need to be installed with a Java. Okay, this is the command to install GRE with the version of 21. Okay, so if it is installed, it will say the Java is already installed. Let's see. See, it is saying Open JDK 21 GRE is already installed. How do we check? Java hyphen,
hyphen also.
you can use hyphen or hyphen. Okay, so Open JDK version 21 is installed, right? Now no need to run this command. If not installed, you run this command just to install the Java. Okay, now let's move to the next command. This is the command where why we use wget. Why we
Install a
use
package from the internet.
download external repository, correct? We are downloading it, not installing it. We are downloading it. Wget is basically, so we are downloading the Jenkins binary, the stable Jenkins build with the key from the Jenkins community. Okay, and keep it in this path. Okay, that is the reason. So this is the complete command sudo wget until see this slash will represent, it will help us to move to the next line. Okay, so we copy this complete command sudo wget. Let's download and keep it in the server. I'm just copying it into the server. I'm gonna run this. Okay, now we got, what is this? awaiting response 200 is okay means what you understood from this. And also it is saying connected http request sent awaiting response 200 is okay. What is mean by this?
As you said
Status codes are
previously, if it is
200.
200, then it is successful, sir.
Status.
It's connected.
Exactly, the status code is 200 is okay, but what disconnected http request sent? When we use wget, whatever way you are downloading it into the server, it will send a request to this URL. If the URLs exist, only you will get an output saying connected http request sent. If the URL is not exist, suppose if the packet is not existing, if the packet is does not exist in your Google or in your package manager, it won't give the 200, the success message, the HTTPS request. It won't give any success message. Okay, so that is the reason because whatever we are downloading it is we are downloading it with the right package. So we can conclude that, right? Correct? Are you guys following here?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what about others? Are you guys in the session or somewhere else? Guys, let's be interactive sessions.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. Now let's move to the next command. The next command will get printed with the signed certificates. So this is just to print a message saying, let's copy this and let's run. So what this will do, this will print whatever we downloaded with the above command. So this will get updated with this path. Okay, slash etc slash apt sources.list.d and jenkins.list will be redirected to the this path. Okay, with tab null. Okay, now let's move with sudo apt update again because we have downloaded the repository, right? We need to update that. Sudo apt update again. Okay, it will be up to dated with the above command when we downloaded with this repository. Okay, now let's install a Jenkins the package where we downloaded with from this command. Sudo apt install Jenkins paste sudo apt install Jenkins. Now the installation part is done, and now enable the, see, this is the command sudo systemctl enable Jenkins. Once we install, we need to enable Jenkins will be installed is a kind of service. Okay, so that is the reason we need to enable it. Sudo systemctl enable Jenkins, right? So let's enable it. Okay, it has been created for a, it has been created for a service and it is enabled it under this path. Okay, and now let's move to the next command. Let's start the Jenkins. Sudo systemctl start Jenkins. Let's start the Jenkins and it is getting started. And let's check the status of Jenkins that we installed. Sudo systemctl status Jenkins to check the status of Jenkins. Are we able to see the active is running? And are we able to see the Jenkins.service and continuous integration server? Are we able to see this? Guys, no worries. Just you follow these instructions. That's it. So your Jenkins will get installed. Okay. You run the command one by one. Just run this last command to check the status. Your Jenkins will be installed in the server. Okay. Now, how do we check this Jenkins? As I told, Jenkins is basically the user interface, right? How do we check this in the user interface? Copy your public IP, copy your public IP, followed by the port number. You just point to the port number 8080. Are we able to see this unlock Jenkins? So why we are getting this unlock Jenkins is I have enabled the security groups inbound and outbound. Okay, you go here, click on the server, you go under security. So if you're not able to see this page, if you're not able to see this page, you go here, go under security groups. Okay, keep both inbound and outbound rules. You are able to see inbound and outbound rules. In the inbound, you keep, okay, and you can click on edit inbound. You can keep type all traffic, protocol all, port range all, and the source you keep it as custom. And in the IP, you keep it for all zero. Okay, click on save rules. Okay, similarly, you do it for outbound rules as well. Where it went, the security groups, instances. Click on this instance, go to security, click on the security groups, and go to the outbound rules. In the outbound rules as well, you click on edit outbound rules. And similarly, where you when you did for inbound rules, similarly you keep it for outbound as well. Type you keep it as all traffic, destination custom, keep 00 as the IP address. Click save rules. That's it. No need to do anything. So this page will get opened. Okay. So you need to unlock your Jenkins, right? So how do we unlock? See, until until your Jenkins will until your Jenkins will be active in your server, you should be able to see this dashboard. Okay, you should be able to see this dashboard. Okay, to ensure Jenkins is securely, you need to add the initial admin password. So where the initial admin password will be stored, initial admin password will be stored in this path where lib Jenkins secrets with the initial admin password. Copy this path and go to server, do cat followed by the path which is reflecting in your screen, right? Run this. Permission denied. So what we need to do?
Permission not
Sudo.
allowed.
Sudo.
Change the permission.
Let's run this command with sudo. Are we getting this password? Are we getting this password from the server? Because
Yes.
when we
Yes.
see you are running Jenkins public IP followed by the port number 8080, it will show that this will show this kind of unlock Jenkins until your server is in the active state in the server, because you are installing Jenkins in the server itself. If your server, when you switch off your server in the terminal, this page will not be up and running because this Jenkins will be installed in the master itself, right? This we call it as master. Okay, let's copy this password, go to the dashboard, put it here, Control V, save this, click continue. This will move to the next page. It will suggest you for install suggested plugins. Select plugins to install. Okay, remember that we have discussed the lot of plugins. There are some 13 to 14 plugins that we installed, right? The Jenkins will also have inbuilt plugins. Let's keep it for suggested plugins. Don't go for select plugins to install. You click on install suggested plugins. Okay, so it will move to the next page, that is Jenkins is getting started in the UI itself. Okay, so there are a lot of plugins that you see, right? Folders, timestamper, pipeline, git, email extension, OSWAP, workspace cleanup, GitHub branch source, SSH build agents, mailer, and there are ant, gradle, LDAP. There are a lot of plugins. It get installed, correct? Now we need to set with username. What is my username? My username will be this. And what is my password? My password I'm gonna set, okay, is this. And I'll have to confirm the password, because until you log in this Jenkins, until the tool's completion, until this Jenkins tool completion, your password and username will be the same. Okay, make sure that you are entering the right password to easy for remembrance. Okay, and full name, I'll keep this, and my ID will be this. Okay, now let's save my Jenkins credentials, because I had set multiple Jenkins password I have kept it is this, and username will be this. Okay, Sandeep at 12345. Now let's move to the. Okay, I have kept the username is this and the password and the confirm password, full name, and the email ID. Click save and continue. Okay, now it will say instance configuration. The Jenkins URL will be IP address followed by your port number. Okay, save and finish. Click save and finish. Now Jenkins is ready. Your Jenkins setup is complete. Start using Jenkins. Click on start using Jenkins. Now this will give a Jenkins dashboard to configure your jobs. Are we able to see this Jenkins dashboard? It's complete dashboard.
Yes, sir.
So what is the version of Jenkins that we used? Jenkins 2.528.3, the version of Jenkins that we used. Are you guys following with me? So this is the Jenkins UI is
Yes.
basically, as I told, in the Jenkins, the very first definition, okay, it's the very first definition. Where is it? It is here, right? So Jenkins is a framework. It is used to integrate the changes from development team continuously without manual intervention. It's a framework. It provides the UI, right? UI nothing but this only. This is the UI of the Jenkins. So where we can see logo, and there we have a new item, build history, and there are your user details, and there are the button called manage Jenkins. I'm going to explain this in further session. So till here, any questions and any doubts? So once you stop this server, your dashboard will be down because you are installing Jenkins in this server only. Means what we call it as where we install a Jenkins.
Master Jenkins.
Master.
Jenkins master.
Exactly. So where we install a Jenkins, we call it as Jenkins master. This server is your Jenkins master now. You can connect other server into it by updating Gearman plugin to connect other servers to act as a slave. We can add other server as an agent here. And this server can be a slave as well. This server we can use to run our jobs as well. Either way. Okay. Clear with this, everybody? This is your Jenkins dashboard. So now let's build a project. Let's focus on what is having with this. Let's understand this dashboard first. Then let's move to the next concept. Let's understand the plugins. How do we create the job? How do we integrate it? And what is having inside this Jenkins? And how do we automate this? What is the benefit of learning this Jenkins? And how do we integrate Git in Jenkins? And how do we execute the script from Jenkins? And how do we execute Linux commands from Jenkins? And how do we integrate the build tools through Jenkins? So this is basically the framework, right? It creates the complete flow and the bundle of packages, the bundle of tasks we executes in Jenkins. Okay, clear with this? Let's learn this in tomorrow session. Anybody has any questions till today's session? Anything that you want to understand? And once you done with your installation, let's take a snapshot of it. I have it already. Okay, I want this dashboard to be configured from everybody. Okay,
Sir,
I'll
for
share this.
a Red Hat user, it will be different, right? Sudo m install the package. The
Exactly. So Red
command
Hat
will be
user, yes, you use sudo yum update instead of apt-get. You use yum
yes.
and CentOS as well. CentOS yum, CentOS and Red Hat. You can use yum package. Why yum? Okay, let me show
Okay.
this. Suppose if you, yeah, clear, right? Okay, suppose if you stop this instance, stop an instance. Okay, I have stopped it currently. Okay, so let's make it stop, and your Jenkins dashboard will get down only. Let's refresh this. And even though if your server is connection closed, right, by remote, and if you go to Jenkins, you will be in unreachable, correct? Because our Jenkins is hosted in this server only, correct? That is the reason your Jenkins is down. Again, if you want to relog in, you make it start instance. Okay. So once you start an instance, your IP will get changed. Copy the current IP, the public IP, not this IP. Okay. Let's make it run. So whenever you want, you can log in and you can explore Jenkins. Okay. For the login and logout purpose, I'm showing it now. Okay. Now this server is running. Okay, copy this public IP. Now the IP is changed, right? So previously it was the IP 107.20.20.124. For every login, for every restart, the IP will get changed. Copy this public IP, go to the next tab, copy your public IP followed by port number 8080, because the default port Jenkins will run on port number 8080. Okay, now it will move to the sign in page of Jenkins. Okay, so when you're signing into Jenkins, you need to, let's close this, the previous one. Okay, you need to enter your username and password where you noted, where you set initially. Okay, so initial admin password. After adding initial admin password, this is your Jenkins sign in page. You need to point your username. My username will be, I have entered this, and my password will be, where I have kept is this. Okay, this is my password. I'm gonna enter this password here. So once you had set the username and password, it will show, it will reflect this page to enter your username and password. So you can update your username and password. This will move to the, so basically it will get logged in. Okay, and your dashboard will be up to date. And this will be slower. Why? Because dashboard we installed with the lower size of Linux machine. Okay, let it load. Yes, now this pages came up, right? You got to know the login and logout of Jenkins. Any questions and any
Yes, sir.
doubts, guys? So let's explore the Jenkins in further session. There are a lot of things in Jenkins. Okay, let's explore it. Okay, let's connect tomorrow, same time. So
Hello, sir.
yes.
Uh, After the duplicate, I have run one more command now, sir. So what it does, sir?
After the
Echo.
duplicate, one more command I ran that will store the keys that we downloaded from the repository.
Where it will store,
Is the
sir?
one you're saying?
Yes.
This will store it in this path. So this will redirect to dev null. So basically, what this, it will do echo, right?
Okay.
Echo
Yeah.
means whatever we print, it will store it. When we use redirect, it will store it in this path. Okay. So what we are doing here is, okay, we are printing signed by this key rings, because we are downloading the keys from here, right? And that to be added with the Jenkins table binary with sudo tt is the command to uh, print in an uh, in an order wise. Okay, ascending or descending. Okay, with that path will be having this Jenkins list, the configuration keys. Basically these keys will be redirected it into the dev null. That is the reason we use this command. Basically this command itself is represents to store the key in this path. Simple. Jenkins key.
Okay, sir. That
Jenkins
is
key will be the key that we got it, that we downloaded from this repository, the Jenkins repository itself.
okay. What is the deb, sir?
You can check in Google.
Is it
Deb
is
is
it the
basically the command.
is it the part of the key, or because it is double quoted inside the double quote, right?
Hmm.
So
Deb
it
is
is
Jenkins command. This will help us to download this key from Jenkins
okay.
within a double quote.
Okay.
It's a Jenkins command.
Okay,
So
sir.
this is what the configuration we have to run this way only. This is what the configuration that we do it in Jenkins. And this configuration we got it from Jenkins. I'll show the Jenkins document. You can also refer that. Okay.
Yeah.
Able to see my screen.
No, sir. Yes.
Okay. So this is the Jenkins document. This is the handbook for Jenkins. So you can refer this document for installing in Docker, and there are a lot of things in it, but there is an installation part, the prerequisites of Jenkins installation, and for Debian you can follow this, for Ubuntu, and for Fedora you can follow these instructions to install a Jenkins, and this is to start a Jenkins, and for Red Hat you can follow this instructions here. Okay, and this is the dashboard where we can see the initial admin password, and you can continue with this document. This is what we have done it. Okay, I'll share this Jenkins document. You can also refer this,
Okay,
and
sir.
each tool will be having with their own document. You can refer that. Okay,
Okay, sir. Thank you.
and you go with install suggested plugins. Don't go for select plugins to install. Okay,
Okay, sir.
even I'll share the steps to install Jenkins and the plugins list of plugins that we integrated. So we'll walk through some of the configuration through Jenkins from tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yes. Let's connect tomorrow same time, and even you guys need to join Q&A in Unique at 7 o'clock. Okay.
Sir,
That's it, guys.
actually,